We're just waiting just a moment to make sure everybody is on. We see some people still logging on, and we will start shortly. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. Looks like everybody has logged on. My name is Jennifer Myers, and I'm a partner account manager for Avalara. I manage the GoECart platform here. And with me is Manesh Chowdhury, founder of GoECart. He really helps customers to succeed and has provided a lot of strategic leadership to help customers stay ahead of competition and really make those strong business decisions. He and I will be covering some of the recent sales tax changes and implications of those, as well as walk you through some of the options you have to solve those issues. And then we'll take questions at the end. You can feel free to type in your questions on your screen, and we'll try to get to all of them. If we don't, we will follow up with you and make sure that your questions are answered. All right. Okay. Here. I don't know how to record it. Okay. Well, I've just returned from a partner conference in Vegas, and a lot of us attend those trade shows. And one of the things that I really love is that I get to hear the voice of the customers. I get to talk to companies about their sales tax solutions and what their challenges are, and I've really tried to incorporate that information to our presentation. So not only the information from the conference, but feedback that we get all the time from our customers. And it's beneficial to you here on the presentation so you can start to understand some of the challenges that we all face. And you're not alone. Many of these challenges are some of the same ones that you have as well. And we'll walk you through some of that, some of the different options for solving that. So why is sales tax such a critical topic right now? States are reporting record budget shortfalls, and in fact it's the largest shortfall on record, as you can see. There's a lot of reasons this is happening, but one of the reasons we believe is that some of this is a direct reflection of what people are buying today. People are buying more things online. They're doing more shopping through their mobile phones or their iPads or what have you, and they're not paying sales tax. So they're doing more shopping online, less shopping at the brick and mortar stores. And now brick and mortar is still very important, but again, the buying patterns are changing, and that's where cities all over the United States are facing shortfalls from revenue expectations from sales tax. And this particular graph ties into where there's $107 billion forecasted as a deficit for the most recent year. And so what are the states and jurisdictions going to do? What they need to do is to increase taxes and find different revenue streams, whether it's a soda tax in California or a gun tax in Illinois or taxing medical marijuana in Washington State. There's different options for that, but they have to look at different revenue sources. What's interesting, though, is that states are getting a lot more aggressive. Most states have hired more auditors, and they're going after that tax gap of the difference between what is collected and what is owed. The idea that it's that companies aren't fully compliant around sales tax, and they make mistakes. They may not collect what they should be collecting, and some aren't declaring nexus in states that they should be. So states are targeting that. They're hiring more auditors. And really what it is, it's a return on investment model. So if the state of California last year hired 100 more auditors last year, and they're getting a good return on investment, they're probably going to hire more auditors because they get a positive return on this investment. Another thing driving this too is that you've probably heard about some pending legislation like the Main Street Fairness Act. And what this bill does, if it's passed, it gives states more power to collect tax in all states, even if they don't have a physical presence. In 2002, Amazon started collecting sales tax in California, Pennsylvania, Texas. This year, they'll collect tax in New Jersey, Arizona, and Virginia. So if you're selling online or you're looking to do that, you'll want to pay attention to this federal legislation. And we're starting to get a lot more calls from customers. They want to take a more conservative approach. And some of what's driving this is, we mentioned Amazon now collecting state and local taxes. There's more requirements around Nexus. Things tied to affiliate marketing are increasing exposure. In 12 states see that as Nexus. And so the states, they're getting back to them getting aggressive. A lot of these companies have been audited and they've had to pay a penalty. So companies are saying, I'm no longer driving in the left lane going 80 miles an hour. I'm going to move to the right lane. I'm going to maintain the speed limit. I'm going to have a business that's compliant. And I'm going to eliminate or reduce my risk. Now, I want to touch on multi-channel. And this probably applies to a lot of you guys here on the line. Companies are no longer just selling through one channel. I mentioned brick and mortar earlier. And they're not just taking phone orders, they're not just taking orders on their websites, not just having people walk into their brick and mortar store. They're probably a combination of one or all of the above. And while all these businesses are point of sale or brick and mortar heavy, they all have an e-commerce strategy. They have a strategy around supporting transactions and touching buyers as much as they can. They're going on social media, they're doing more with mobile, POS. So they're taking a mobile device with them so they can take orders anywhere. But the key component there is that they want to be compliant, but they all want that data feeding into one integrated system to support the reporting and filing process, right? So what happens is that they're using multiple solutions across multiple platforms, and there's potential issues with that. We had one of our customers call it accounting gymnastics. She had 4 different platforms, 4 different solutions. She had to pull together just a multitude of Excel spreadsheets, and at the end of the month, she had to file 40 returns to Colorado. It just became a painstaking effort, but she got the full benefit of a fully integrated solution. So some of the challenges customers face, from a calculation standpoint, there are a lot of factors to consider. And you may be doing sales tax wrong if you're managing it manually. So there's a lot of big companies out there, Fortune 500 companies that do their own sales tax, but they're armed with a lot of employees, a ton of resources, and that's cool. They have more power to them. They can do that, and they can put that amount of money and time and effort towards that. But for most companies, they just don't want to spend the money and the time maintaining that type of resource structure, and managing that manually has a lot of issues. So there can be a lot of mistakes, as I mentioned, or maybe you're using a flat state rate, or however you're doing, or maybe you're relying on information from the states. Then the states are a little behind on the time sometimes, and sometimes getting that information out that's accurate, it can be very difficult. And the way they may expose it sometimes isn't always up front. Maybe it'll be on the last page of a 400-page document where they made some changes to a rule tied to taxing multiple products in Vermont. which actually happened a while back, and a lot of those companies missed that rule and they're paying penalties because of it. So sometimes it's tough to find the data, and you need a dedicated team that can do that for you. The other area, exemption certificates, you wouldn't think that's a big deal, but we've got some feedback from customers recently that auditors are going after those aggressively. They're making sure they're up to date. Certain states like Florida are hitting them every other year. So you want to make sure they're filled out correctly, and you have a process that automates that. And auditors, they're looking at these certificates, and if you've got gaps there or issues there, there'll be penalties associated with that. So it's real important that if you have customers claiming tax-exempt status, that you're collecting that certificate as part of the transaction and maintaining it. Then there's consumer's use tax. I know this is kind of a hot button right now as well, and I know a lot of you are familiar with it. And it's tied to anything you consume as part of your business. It could be a product or a service, and if it's taxable where you consume it, you need to declare consumer's use tax if your vendor didn't charge you sales tax. So an example would be, I've got Nexus in Washington State, and I buy 50 computers from a company in Texas, and they don't charge me tax, and I use those computers as part of my business. I need to report consumer's use tax against those 50 computers that I purchased, and those rules will be tied to Washington State rules. So sometimes this gets a little confusing. Customers may miss this, but that's the low-hanging fruit that auditors are always going after. Now I want to talk about Nexus, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with Nexus, what it is, it's a tangible physical presence that creates a requirement to collect and remit sales tax. And I've touched on this with other presentations, whether you have employees in the state or whether you're working with agents who are commission-based and someone's selling goods on your behalf and you're paying them a commission. That's Nexus. If you're renting equipment, tangible personal property, in any state, that triggers Nexus. Trade show attendance, training. There's a lot of items outside of having an office that triggers Nexus. The key thing you need to understand, your exposure, and you need to understand your requirement around that. It's real important that you get that up front and that you get your Nexus correct, because what happens after a fact is that you can't go back to your customers, and you're going to be in a situation where you may face penalties. Another key component here outside of Nexus is if you're working with direct drop shipment manufacturers. We hear a lot of feedback from customers on that. You need to understand that if you're working with a drop shipper in Wisconsin and you sell something on your website and that drop shipper ships to someone, they have to charge that customer sales tax, or someone has to. Wisconsin may not give you a free pass there. So if you're working with a drop ship manufacturer, you need to understand the different rules and the different states where your drop shippers have Nexus, and then come up with a plan with them. Whether you're going to own the collecting and remittance of sales tax liability or your direct shipper will. Someone's got to pay the taxes. So this map here, what it is, it's the 11,000 taxing jurisdictions across the United States that Avalara has gone out. They've mapped out. It's a very busy map. I don't know who did it, but this was a monumental effort. And the idea here is that these states all have different jurisdictions: the city, county, special tax jurisdiction, Indian reservations. Everyone's got different requirements. So how can I be accurate if I'm shipping to a location in Missouri or Tennessee or California or New York? How can I be sure I'm charging the correct sales tax jurisdiction? And I think the key component is that you need a solution that ensures rooftop level accuracy so you can get all of the appropriate jurisdictional taxes, and you need a solution that supports all of this logic. Zip code rate tables have been the best effort approach many customers have used. It's not accurate in many states. It's based on the federal government's ability to deliver mail, and that's a great process for delivering mail, but it has nothing to do with state tax jurisdictions. And to that point, if you go to Alabama, for example, we've done some research where in 65% of the state of Alabama, you'll always have two cities or two county taxes to choose within a zip code boundary. So you just won't be able to be accurate in whether it's Alabama or other states. Zip and Zip plus 4, it doesn't cut it. So now I'm going to take you down to the street level here. The idea here is that at the street level, and this goes back to what I was talking about with the jurisdictions, you've got a jurisdiction that is 4.8.5%, and we kind of joke and we say, oh, the mayor lives here, he's got a really low tax rate. And then across the street, you've got this house that actually it's in the same zip code. It's a city tax of 3.5%. And we tease, oh, this is, or, I'm sorry, 8.3%. And we always joke and say, oh, yeah, this guy didn't vote for the mayor. But the idea here is that it's almost twice as much, and it's just across the street. And granted, this is an extreme example, obviously, but there are many examples of this type of variance, whether it's at the street, across the multiple jurisdictions. The taxes change, and it changes from whether you're shipping to an urban location or rural location. It changes. The key is to ensure you're accurate and have that level of accuracy with the solution that you're using. So I want to touch on product taxability, digital download. So if you download Adobe Acrobat 9 in the state of California, it's not taxable because all digital goods in the state of California aren't taxable. But if you buy that physical media in California and ship it to your address, it now becomes physical goods and it's fully taxable. Now, if both items are on an invoice, they both become taxable. It triggers a dual taxability from both items in California. So these are the types of challenges our customers deal with. Now, these are the industries that have challenging taxability: software, hardware, digital goods, services, medical equipment, food and beverage, clothing, related products, supplements. They'll have a lot of different thresholds and rules. Back to school, days, holidays, those types of taxability exceptions. So you can see these are the industries that are affected here. So if you're selling these types of items within these industries or dealing with items that have varying taxability requirements, you need to understand what requirements you have as far as varying taxability and how to support that. We have an example of a clothing and apparel customer in New York whose provider was charging sales tax on purchases under $110. So what was happening is that the customers were coming to the website, but they weren't buying, because when they went to their competitor's website, the competitors weren't taxing the items under, the purchases under $110. So they were going to their competitor's website, purchasing there because of that threshold. So in the state of New York, if you purchase anything under $110, it's not taxable. Over $110, it is taxable. So it can really affect your business. So what multi-channel customers are telling us, what they're telling us that they want a solution that's accurate, it's fast, the calculation, it's critical to their business. So when their customers check out on a shopping cart, or if they're calculating an invoice for their accounting or ERP system, they don't want to have to mess with it, and they want to know what their product taxability is, and they want to know it's correct and that they've captured that varying taxability. They don't want to be sales tax experts. They want it handled quickly, they want it done right, and they need detailed reporting to ensure compliance and give them that streamlined process. Those detailed sales records, really important. You need a solution that houses all of those sales records, that gives you an audit trail. So if you're ever audited, you have that there and you're supported. And it's historical data, and sometimes it needs to go back 7 years. California can go back 8 years. Texas can go back infinity, so they can go back as far as they want. Customers just want to be bulletproof in an audit, and many of them consider outsourcing their sales tax process, just like they do payroll. So really, to solve this, the only answer is automating with technology. So just like payroll, sales tax is more complex. It's a pass-through activity. So automate it, don't worry about it. The key benefit here is eliminating sales tax risk and saving time. So your business is free of any concerns of a statutory requirement. You want to save time so you can focus on your business and put resources towards revenue-generating activities. So this is all about providing a solution that's easy to get going, it's easy to integrate to, that supports all of the reporting you need, and it's a platform that supports this process. So As you all have questions, continue to type those in. I'm going to pass the controls over to Manesh. He's going to tell you a little bit more about GoECart.
Thank you, Jennifer. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate the time. Just check that everybody can see my screen and everybody can hear me. Jennifer, are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Excellent. Well, that was some excellent information, Jennifer. A lot of the stuff that's coming straight from the field, and we love that. And I think our attendees are getting a lot of great info. And as you mentioned, having a great sales tax strategy is not complete without having an integrated technology platform, and that's really what GoECart is all about. And as everybody knows, that multi-channel commerce is really hard. It's hard enough to deal with the business. It's even more complex to deal with the sales tax coming from all these different channels, whether you're taking orders over the telephone, on the call center, you may have an overflow call center in a different location. You might be selling through marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, your own website, B2B, B2C, wholesale, retail. So there's a lot of complexity, product types, as you mentioned earlier, and that's really the problem that GoECart solution was designed to solve. And we'll give you a little bit of glimpse into the platform. And as you mentioned earlier, accounting gymnastics, the merchants that we speak with are dealing with system gymnastics and data gymnastics, really, because they have so many different applications that they need to cobble together. Like a storefront software that runs their e-commerce website, and an order management system that has inventory and order information, and then they are using a third-party shipping and fulfillment software, and CRM. This is all the data related to customer contact and any kind of inquiries, and then finally feeding all of this into an accounting package like QuickBooks or Microsoft Dynamics or what have you. So there's a lot of systems that merchants, especially the small and mid-sized businesses that are, we call them perhaps small giants, meaning they're big enough, but they're not big enough to afford something like a IBM WebSphere or put in 6 figures towards software. So that's really what GoECart 360 solution is really trying to bring all these different components under one modern web-based application, from your e-commerce to your order management to inventory to fulfillment and customer relationship. And it's all web accessible, so you don't have to worry about any IT resources or infrastructure. And we work with a lot of different partners and in all different technologies, where we feel we need to complement our offering so that our merchants are getting a truly best-of-breed solution and they're not having to compromise. And Avalara is really one of those partners that brings that sales tax that we feel is impossible for merchants to keep a handle on. And that's really what our integration with Avalara is all about. And we were recertified just about a month or 2 months ago, because Avalara does a great job of keeping all the integrated partners on track, making sure that their technology is 100% compliant with all the latest changes that Avalara has introduced, while they keep up with technology sales tax updates. We keep up with the integration with Avalara so that what our merchants are getting is a completely compliant solution. And very much like outsourcing your payroll, this is all about one of those necessary evil that you have to get a handle on, and the complexity is increasing. So GoECart really makes it really easy for merchants to stay on top of this, both on sales tax calculation, reporting, remittance, as well as compliance. So those are the 4 areas that merchants should be thinking about, not just calculating the sales tax. And here's some couple of screenshots that show you how easy it is to work with the integrated offering of Avalara and GoECart. Since our system is also 100% web-based, merchants, all they need is a web browser. It's highly secure, and you just go into the sales tax settings and basically choose Avalara as one of the options. While there are other simplistic options that merchants can choose from, but we highly recommend Avalara for a number of reasons, one being accuracy of sales tax calculation. And then you go to a screen which basically gives you a couple of fields. These are really very simple credentials that you get from your Avalara account, and you just type that in, and that's really all you need to do. There's also a link, a button for testing the connection, so you immediately know that the integration is successful and it's working. And then let's, what's the secret sauce? I mean, how do we connect with Avalara? It's really at the product level, which gives our merchants complete control over managing their sales tax business rules. You go into the product editor, and you simply, there's a field called tax code, and you specify the tax code in Avalara's tax code for the product in GoECart, and that's what we use for calculating and submitting a request to Avalara in real time. And once you've entered the tax code, from that point on, you don't have to worry. You can manage this right within Avalara console, and it will automatically update any changes in tax regulation and so on. That's really the connection. And let's look at what a customer experience would be like, starting from the shopping cart. And basically, customers have the ability to type in their zip code to calculate both shipping as well as tax. So we give this information to the customers right on the shopping cart page. And this is not just good for sales tax calculation, but also great for conversion, because one of the top reasons we found that merchants, why customers abandon their shopping cart is a simple question like, I did not know my order total. And customers don't want to go through 3 pages of registration before they get that information. So we want to expose this right up front. And in fact, the GoECart system is so intuitive and intelligent that if you're a returning visitor, we can actually automatically compute that without asking that question to you again because of the cookie on your computer. So, and then you also have additional checkout methods like alternate payments in addition to. So we make a real-time call to Avalara based on this product and all the prevailing rules that you've set up in Avalara, and you get a real accurate sales tax calculation. And then let's go through a complete checkout so you can see. Here we are trying to register as a new customer. We enter basic information. We don't ask for anything rudimentary or extraneous. So you put in your billing and shipping address, and GoECart system automatically has the capability to do what we call address verification. While it's good for saving on any kind of shipping surcharges that merchants would have to pay to the carriers for correcting address or making any kind of delivery modification, it is also great for sales tax purpose. As you can see, we're making a real-time call to ensure that the address is 100% accurate, zip code is correct, and as Jennifer mentioned earlier, that sales tax can be greatly influenced by the zip code or other nexus. So by having this accurate information allows us to recompute the sales tax upfront. There are a number of solutions out in the marketplace that will never do that, and you will do an address verification at the time of shipping. Just think about it. You're calculating tax using zip code 1, and you're later correcting the sales tax and updating your order using a different zip code. It leads to a problem right away, and then you're responsible, and those things will surface at the time of audit and compliance, and you'll have to live with it. And these are some of the finer aspects of the GoECart solution that makes it really easy. And then you move to the one-page checkout. So that's really our popular award-winning feature. And as you saw, if the address was indeed corrected prior to coming to this page, you will see that the sales tax has been recomputed, once again making a real-time call to Avalara. It's absolutely seamless. It's a sub-second sort of integration. You don't even know what's happening, but it's all calculating in real time, and then you can go ahead and place your order. So that's kind of the order confirmation customer shopping experience. Now let's take a look at what the back end would look like. I mean, and this is an example of a transactional email. That's again a feature of GoECart that's available to our merchants built natively as part of the platform. They don't have to go and acquire and procure these advanced technologies. And sales tax is again highlighted on this email because customers want to know whether the merchant has received the order successfully, and also there's a great upsell, cross-sell right in this email that is very effective in getting any kind of additional click-throughs, and our merchants are getting great success from a feature like this. Now let's look at some of the options on the back end. As Jennifer mentioned, she talked a little bit about exemption certificate if you're a reseller, for example, or if you're not calculating or collecting sales tax. And by supporting all that feature natively in GoECart, you can do this right on your storefront. For example, if a particular customer is a reseller and we don't need to collect sales tax, there's complete support for that. Whether you wish to mark that customer as a reseller or have them prompt and self-identify whether this order that they're placing qualifies for sales tax or not. And by getting that explicit indication from the shopper, at least you're doing a better job of compliance rather than making assumptions which will not hold water. And then let's take a look at what some of the other screens in terms of sales tax, order entry, and these are just simple screens, and we can, anybody who is interested in exploring the GoECart platform, we welcome additional calls, and we can go over in detail. And this is an example of a sales order screen, and as you can see, if the order if you were indeed using Avalara for sales tax computation, right in the tax source, you will see that this order sales tax was computed using the Avalara module, and we will also separate the tax at the line item level, and again, the total of that will be also available in total tax. And other taxes could be in case you were charging taxes on shipping or any kind of additional add-on services that you were adding on top of the order. So it's a really very granular information that's available. And as Jennifer mentioned, all this data resides on GoECart on the web, and we maintain complete order history for a very long time so that you don't have to archive this data anywhere, and you have this available at the time of an audit. And then likewise, if you're looking at taking orders over the call center, once again, you don't want to have to deal with two separate applications and having to set up two set of business rules. If you're carrying the same product catalog, the beauty of the GoECart suite is not only does it do everything on the customer-facing storefront, but also the same features and same capabilities available for the call center rep to take orders and compute the sales tax. Once again, as you can see, tax source is identified as Avalara, and it's making a real-time call while the agent is on the phone with the customer and placing the order. So once again, one place to manage all your orders, and not just orders, but also returns, purchase orders, because GoECart is a complete end-to-end suite. You're not just operating your sales within GoECart, but also any kind of procurement that you're doing with your vendors and return. This is a often overlooked functionality. Most businesses have to deal with returns. It's an unfortunate fact, and return rates could be anywhere from 2% to as high as 15, 20%, depending on the industry. And those are returns that you absolutely must obtain credit for, because if you've paid sales tax on something and a customer is returning merchandise, that's money that you might be leaving on the table. And if you don't have a complete handle on this, that's really a lot of accounting nightmare. And GoECart does a great job of computing taxes on RMAs so that you can receive credit. And again, it simplifies the reporting process because all this data is being reported back to Avalara, so you can get credit. And finally, not to mention reporting. I mean, you can do all this reporting because we are submitting the transactions to Avalara, but also there are tons of reports within GoECart that's available, and it's a really powerful module. We'll give you really easy functionality to sort, filter, create your own custom reports, share them with whatever set of individuals that need to have access to that functionality. And this is an example of a sales and shipping and sales tax analysis report. You can filter by state. You know, even if you were using Avalara, for example, just for calculation purpose, and you wanted to do your own reporting and remittance, this information is really readily available to you on the back end, and you can use this to create any kind of forms or reporting. And finally, just to wrap up, you know, why choose GoECart and why choose GoECart and Avalara combination? You know, once again, merchants today are facing increased pressure from larger retailers like Amazon, Walmart, and it doesn't matter. If you're selling the same merchandise as they are, you are in competition with them, and you need to have access to great technology in order to stay on top. And by having separate standalone applications, it's really hard to compete against the big guys. So we believe that GoECart 360 is an excellent solution to a problem like that, so you can focus on the business. And you have some great, powerful tools that only have been available in the past to the larger retailers because they've been so expensive, hard to deploy, a lot of technology resources required. Our goal at GoECart is to make those powerful features available to the mid-size and the small, the growing merchant available without an astronomical cost, and make this multi-channel commerce. I mean, if you're not selling on Amazon, eBay, and other marketplaces, you're not on Google Shopping, you're really at a serious disadvantage. If you don't have a mobile strategy, you're really going to be in some deep trouble, if not now, perhaps 12, 16, 18 months from now. And you know, every software is moving on the web. So if you have a licensed on-premise software, you know, it's okay for now. Hard to really stay on top of compliance, PCI, and so we've delivered this entire application on the web, and so is the Avalara solution. So you don't have to ever worry about staying current with times, because Avalara updates software. It automatically gets updated as far as the GoECart connections are concerned, and they do a really good job of making sure that our platforms are always integrated, they're retested, recertified periodically. And then GoECart is not just about driving sales on the front end, but also efficiency in your back office. So really, that's kind of the nutshell about the GoECart system. We welcome additional questions you may have, and there's some contact info. We're happy to provide a guided demo on the platform and how the integrated offering works. And so some contact info. We'd love to hear from you. So Jennifer, I'll hand this back over to you.
Thanks, Manish. It was great. It was great. You know, we've got a number of questions that people have asked. And if you do have additional questions, go ahead and just type them in on the right-hand side. There's a place for your questions, and we'll answer it for you. One of the questions was, how do you pick up sales tax holidays? How do we know that you are in a state or someone's in a state that has a sales tax holiday? And what happens on our end is that those unique taxing rules, rates, boundaries, any unique situation, it's built into our logic. And what it is, it's tied to the state and the jurisdictional level, the location, what you're selling, where you're selling, so a lot of different factors. And we have a team of about 70 in-house. It's all they do. They update our content. We own our own content, so we can control that. And they keep up to date on all of those changing rates, rules, boundaries, sales tax holidays. So again, it's nothing that you ever have to worry about. You don't have to check your calendar and wonder, oh, did we charge it correctly? Did we not? You can rely on us to have that accurate for you. Another question we got was, what's our pricing? Avalara is based on tier-based transactional level pricing. then it's going to depend on a number of factors. One of them will depend on the number of completed transactions that you've had. It's an annual fee. In addition, things that we always like to find out too when we are on requirement calls, we're going to find out, do you have varying taxability requirements, or are you selling in a state that's complex, like Florida, New York, California, Texas? Those types of questions and concerns that we really have to get answered before we can price. It's really best to contact us, and we can go over that and get you the proper pricing. But in general, you have an annual service fee. You also have an activation fee. And also, too, just so you know, anybody on this call, we are offering an incentive that if you move forward with Avatax, we'll kind of sweeten the pot here and give a discount on the activation fee. So if it's something that you want to take a look at further, I'm going to put my contact information up as well. So you can see that. Change my screen view. There we go. All right, so there's my contact information there as well. Let's see, another question. A question about zip codes. You know, we get questions on zip codes all the time, and you know, people ask me, who's your biggest competition? You know what? Our competition are those rate tables. And the reason I say that is that a lot of companies we talk to, customers looking for an automated solution, they're using those zip codes and they think they're fine. The problem is that zip codes, like we mentioned before, it's based on delivering mail. We've got the best mail delivery service in the world. It's accurate, it's on time, it's all those things. It's inexpensive. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't really translate into sales tax. We talked about varying taxability, sales tax, holidays, those types of things. Zip codes just don't pick that up. Avalara has rooftop technology, and so when we showed you that example in Colorado and the same zip code but different tax rates, we have that logic, we have that built in, and so we know that you're accurate and you're up to date, and you don't ever have to worry about those issues if you're using our automated solution. So again, if you're using zip code rates, they're about 70% accurate, and what people are really looking for is an accurate solution that's compliant. So there is that. Another question about legislation. Will the legislation, federal legislation that's pending, Main Street Fairness Act, Marketplace Fairness Act, things like that, will it affect just the large businesses or small businesses? What does that look like? The landscape is this. With any and all federal legislation, any pending legislation, what it's going to do, it will create a more level playing field for all merchants, but especially those small and large merchants. So, you know, where the requirements right now are is that there's just varying jurisdictions, there's different rules in different areas, and you know, selling online, taxes, no taxes, brick and mortar, all of that. When legislation is passed, it will really just level that playing field for all merchants. So, and if you're curious about any of the legislation, go ahead and Google it. Google Main Street Fairness Act. You'll be pleasantly surprised at what you get. You can also go to our blog at blog.avalara.com or contact me. I can get you in touch with a little bit more information on that as well. Let me check and see if we've got any more questions. I think we're good on that. So I really just want to thank everybody, and Manesh as well, taking the time out of your day. We know you're busy, but we also know that you have lots of questions. Feel free to get in touch with myself and or Manesh, and we'll be happy to help you. My contact information is up on the screen. So it's jennifer.myers@avalara.com. Hey, thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate your time, and we look forward to chatting with you soon. we go.